Hey Yeeters, my name is Yeetboy, and this is my YouTube channel. In this channel, I'll be creating my own country in Minecraft. Now, before I even knew what YouTube was, I was already working on this country. So, in this video, I'll keep you guys up to date on everything that's happened before I created my YouTube channel. Now, what's important to know is that this entire world used to be one country, and it was called Funville. But eventually, it became multiple different cities, and each of those cities had different players controlling them. Then, they all decided to go their separate ways and pursue their own separate interests. The first country I'll talk about is Funville. It might be the most important country here because it was the original. It was where everything came from. It all started here, in this one house. This was originally the only house I had ever built, but I tried to build an aquarium, and me being a complete scrub at Minecraft, failed it, and the house flooded. I didn't know you were supposed to cover the source block. I told you I was a scrub. So I blew it up with TNT. This is all that's left. Then, after me getting triggered and rage quitting Minecraft for about a month, I came back and built another house. Thought it was a masterpiece, but it's not that nice. The city was later expanded, and it had a lot more buildings than just the original two that I built. It has lots of strange things everywhere. It has a large mine and restaurants everywhere. Maybe not everywhere, but there's a few. It also had a minecart system. This is the Minecart Central. But what's important to know here is that the government was not very strong, and it was a little greedy. Anyone it didn't like was sentenced to jail. As you can see, lots of outcasts are here. Eventually, all its territories became their own independent nations, and we'll get to the second one, which is Greentown. Greentown was originally meant to be a haven for people who wanted to escape Funville, but it didn't last long. It became communist, and the leader of the country built strong military fortifications to keep everyone out. And this leads us to the third country, which is the United Colonies. They were originally multiple villages and small outposts around the world that were conjoined into one nation to resist Greentown and Funville's oppression. But eventually, bad things happened. The villages broke apart and went to war with each other. Only the capital of the nation survived. But it too was eventually destroyed. And that leads us to the next nation we'll be focusing on. My nation, the Independent Republic of Skyzania. It was originally a hidden city, a small village that didn't want anything to do with politics or other countries. But that didn't last long, just like nothing else lasted long in this world. It was eventually discovered, and, well, it had to defend itself. So it originally was allies with Funville because it had no military strength at the time, and it prospered somewhat. It grew to one city, and it had a few buildings, a relatively large commercial district, but what it was lacking was freedom. As anyone will tell you, freedom may be the most important thing known to man. And so, the Skyzanians knew they had to reach bigger heights. So, they eventually went rogue from Funville and stopped them because, unknowingly, Funville had created the very monster that would destroy them by giving Skyzania mining powers. Skyzania was originally a gigantic mining country before anything else. They struck it rich and found lots of diamonds. And then they used those diamonds to rise up against Funville, use them for their military. Then they declared their independence and created much bigger cities. Then their military was growing and their economic strength was prospering. So they decided to make peace with all the other nations and hold them at gunpoint. The other nations could do very little to stop this, so they created the Council of Nations. Eventually, Skyzania struck against the other three countries. The first to go was Greentown. It being communist, it was the enemy of Skyzania. They came in with their tanks, and they took over the entire country without any fight. The rest of the military of the entire country was hunkered down in one fort called the Armory. There weren't many supplies in the Armory, so it became a siege, with the Greentownians sorely unprepared. The tanks destroyed it, and everyone inside was killed instantly. No one remained except for the civilians, who were soon killed. Then, the Skyzanians got their revenge even further and placed propaganda in the form of flags on all of the infrastructure and buildings. They took control of the entire country, and no one was allowed into the country until much later, when it was admitted to become a district in the independent Republic of Skyzania. Next came the downfall of the United Colonies. The country was already freed of all of its colonies, so the only building left was its capital. But its leader made death threats against the Skyzanian government, so they proceeded to send the military in to destroy it once and for all. The tanks came in through here. They destroyed the building and left it in ashes. Almost nothing was left. The destruction of Funville came much later. The Independent Republic of Skyzania's government had sent spies to the country. Those spies had found out that the government of Funville was in possession of command blocks, which were highly illegal in the world at the time. The president sent a message to the leader of the military to prep the troops and invade, and that's exactly what happened. It was a joint Navy-Army task force. they attacked at the rear of the base and made a bridge over for the tanks to go. They bombed out the entire recreational area, then proceeded to go over to the bunkers. They blew the entire bunkers up, one by one. Then they captured all the supplies, including some command blocks. They later used those command blocks as evidence to present to the Council of Nations, which had only been reduced to the one country, Skyzania. Obviously, it was not a fair trial. Within days, the other strongholds surrendered to the Skyzania. They knew they could not survive against a force as overwhelming as the Skyzanian military. From then on, Skyzania was the only country in the world, free to expand as they liked. And in the rest of this channel, I'll be going over how it expanded. Okay, well, now that they're gone, I'll just play myself some music right here.